This is Meghan Markle's sickest stunt yet. This weekend, she decided to invoke the memory of dead Princess Diana in a deliberate attempt to terrorize her long-suffering husband, Prince Harry. Again, I have to be careful what I say, but Prince Harry just exploded, and this time there's no palace wall thick enough to contain it. This is gross and grim and deranged on every level. Witnesses say the moment he saw Meghan's video filmed just steps from the tunnel where his mother died, something inside him snapped. And she thinks that's a win, Brittany. No, we see you, Meghan. We see you. And now the world sees you. No calm statement, no carefully crafted silence, just rage. This is her in the car videoing herself with her legs up as she went past the tunnel in which Diana Spencer was so tragically killed in Paris. Because for Harry, that tunnel isn't symbolism. It's the darkest night of his life. It's really quite sad. Who does this? Who behaves like this? And yet, there she was, lounging in the back of a luxury car, feet propped up as they rolled past the site where Diana took her last breath. She was the villain. How was she dangerous? Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image. Posted to social media with a smile, a filter, Meghan is using everything for publicity. Just another appallingly tone-deaf action. For millions, it was tone-deaf. For Harry, it was unforgivable. But I have to just say, anyone who has doubted me over the past decade about this evil woman now needs to eat some humble pie because this video designed to mentally torture her husband. He's been silent through years of criticism, but insiders say this was different. This time he confronted her, and he didn't hold back. According to a source close to the couple, Harry called the move cruel, attention-seeking, and a betrayal of everything Diana stood for. And she did this all after teaming up with the dodgy child scandal fashion brand Balenciaga during a bizarre trip to Paris. The outburst reportedly caught off camera after the Balenciaga show left their team stunned. He accused her of turning tragedy into a prop, of using his mother's death as another headline to chase relevance. Those words cut through the luxury air of Paris like a blade. If I know that this is a place that my husband hates because it's where he lost his mom, I'm not going to go there. But that was only the beginning. Because behind the closed doors of a five-star suite, what started as a private argument erupted into something louder, a confrontation that even their inner circle couldn't contain. And now insiders are asking the same question we all are. Did Meghan cross the final line between ambition and desecration? Do you think Meghan knew exactly what she was doing by filming near Diana's crash site? Or was it just a terrible coincidence? Especially when he's on the BBC saying that it's not safe enough for my family in the UK, but it's safe enough for Meghan to be alone in Paris, literally engaging with the paparazzi you say killed your mother. Drop your thoughts below. Paris flashbulbs. Applause. It was supposed to be Meghan Markle's triumphant return. A carefully choreographed comeback after months of silence. Front row at Fashion Week, handpicked by designers, cameras locked on every angle. For her, the setting was perfect. Couture, celebrity, and control. For Harry, it was supposed to be harmless, just another public appearance, just another performance. The world saw a polished Meghan, smiling, waving, perfectly lit by the Paris glow. Paparazzi framed her as radiant, redefined, reborn. Every step seemed intentional, every glance rehearsed. It was the Meghan brand in full motion, the rebirth of relevance until the video. Have you ever seen that video?
No. Pull that video up.
Music, just seconds of footage, a casual clip posted online like any influencer moment. Her feet up, phone in hand, gliding past the Pont de Lama tunnel, the place where Diana's car crashed in night. Within hours, outrage exploded across social media. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds, disrespectful, staged, unforgivable. For those who remembered Diana's final hours, it felt like desecration disguised as content. But what made it worse was the silence that followed. No apology, no clarification, not even a denial. Only that same unbothered smile at the next fashion event. And yet those close to the couple insist the silence wasn't peace, it was strategy. Meghan is doing her own thing. Harry, go whatever with you. I'm doing what I want to do. Behind the designer shades and practice poses, Meghan wasn't ignoring the backlash. She was feeding on it, because the louder the outrage grew, the more the cameras turned back toward her. But that's where the story starts to fracture, because what looked like a careless mistake may not have been a mistake at all. At first, the footage looked like another influencer reel, harmless, staged, forgettable. But within hours, investigators online began to dissect every frame. The car's route wasn't random. It followed the same path Diana's did that night, turning left toward the Pont Lama underpass. It wasn't coincidence, it was choreography. Every timestamp, every camera angle told a story of precision, a setup meant to spark conversation, and conversation quickly turned into outrage. Well, how about having some thought towards your husband's feelings when you're in the same city his mom died in? Running around having a joyride in Paris, near where she lost her life. Fashion commentators called it symbolic. Royal reporters called it sick. But what really shattered the illusion was Harry's reaction. For years, he defended Meghan through scandal after scandal. This time, he didn't. He walked out of the event and, according to witnesses, refused to travel with her afterward. Inside sources claimed the argument that followed wasn't about the tunnel. It was about intent. Harry accused her of using his mother's death as currency. She allegedly fired back saying, "It's just a location, not your property." That sentence changed everything. Hours later, she appeared front row at Balenciaga's show, the very brand still haunted by its child exploitation controversy. For a woman who built her image on protecting children, it was hypocrisy in high definition. And when questioned, her only defense was that she was supporting a friend. How are you protecting children when you were promoting a brand that was accused of inappropriate behavior towards them? Critics saw it differently. To them, it wasn't loyalty. It was selective morality. One insider put it bluntly, every time her relevance fades, she reaches for something darker. The public thought they'd seen attention-seeking before, but what was coming next would make every past controversy look like a warm-up act. Because this wasn't a single misstep, it was a strategy, and the cracks were just beginning to show. If Harry really called her out behind the scenes, do you side with him for finally snapping or think he overreacted? Let me know in the comments. When the noise faded, something far more calculated began to surface. Every controversy, every headline, every outburst, they weren't isolated events. They formed a pattern. From Netflix deals to red carpet appearances, every spark of outrage seemed to land right before a new announcement, a new feature, a new photo op. Meghan entered this world like it was a Hollywood set, assuming she could rewrite the script, center herself in every scene, and edit out anything that didn't fit her narrative. Insiders began calling it the cycle, a rhythm of shock, silence, and spotlight. And at the center of it always was Meghan. Those close to the Sussex circle say Harry has finally started to see the pattern too. He's realized that every storm benefits one person more than the other. His trauma becomes her talking point. His mother's memory becomes her aesthetic. His silence becomes her control. Behind the polished image, the strategy is simple. Turn every criticism into fuel, every backlash into buzz. Even her attendance at Balenciaga wasn't random. The brand's name still stirs outrage, but outrage equals visibility. And visibility keeps her name in circulation. For Meghan, the formula works. For Harry, it destroys him. Friends describe him now as trapped in a cycle he can't defend. Every time he tries to protect her, he loses a piece of himself. And every time he speaks out, he feeds the narrative she thrives on. Samantha Michael, Meghan's sister, posted, "Is it true that my sister was doing selfies in the tunnel where Diana died? That's what I'm hearing." Now, that would be a really sick example of being a disaster tourist. This is no longer about a video or a fashion show. It's about control, emotional, public, psychological. A strategy built on provocation, wrapped in compassion, and sold as empowerment. And maybe that's the cruelest part, because what started as a love story between rebellion and royalty has morphed into something colder. A business built on controversy, fueled by pain, and protected by cameras. Coincidence or calculation? That's the question echoing through every room they enter, and the one Harry can no longer ignore. Is Meghan using controversy as a way to stay relevant, or is she just a victim of media exaggeration? What do you think, guys? Stephanie Sidley: if driving towards Princess Diana's death scene is a message to Prince William, then Meghan Markle is the devil. The night sky over Paris glowed gold, but the energy around them had turned ice cold. For the first time, Meghan wasn't being photographed as a star. She was being studied like a case. Every blink, every movement, every glance toward Harry became evidence. Cameras caught the smallest things, her smile fading for half a second as he walked past her without a word, his jaw tightening when her hand reached for his arm. And he didn't take it. There was no shouting now, just distance, and sometimes silence says more than rage ever could. Online, the atmosphere mirrored the tension. Clips slowed down, analyzed frame by frame. Experts breaking down micro-expressions as if decoding a crime scene. A half smirk became proof of arrogance. A blink became a sign of guilt. Every edit made her look smaller, colder, further from the woman she once pretended to be. Did you see this moment right here? It was almost as cringe. She thinks something is funny. It clearly isn't. Turns to Marcus Anderson, her gay BFF who's behind all of this, wanting him to join in. He's like, no way. Just turn around. Behave. I've got this gig for you, you stupid woman. Just behave. And then she's furious. Then came the crowd footage. Harry stepping out alone. Flash bulbs exploding like gunfire around him. He didn't wait. He didn't smile. Just a man walking through the noise, haunted by a ghost the world refused to let rest. Cut to Meghan at a gala dinner days later. Radiant, composed, pretending nothing happened. But behind the smiles, her eyes never stopped searching the crowd. She wasn't looking for approval anymore. She was measuring control. That's the paradox of their story. The more polished the image becomes, the more fractured the reality feels. Because behind every camera flash lies a shadow. And lately, that shadow has Harry's face written all over it. No lines, no reconciliation. Just two people orbiting the same scandal, pretending it's still love. And as one insider whispered, it's not a marriage anymore. It's a performance. I was just checking US Weekly.
Wow.
You know, Harry and Meghan's personal press release service. I want to give you some of the headlines from US Weekly in the last few hours. Okay. Meghan Markle quietly attends Balenciaga's Paris Fashion Week show. Quietly. Laughter. Days turned into headlines and headlines turned into distance. The clip was no longer trending, but the damage was permanent. Harry disappeared from the spotlight, choosing quiet over confrontation. Meghan did the opposite. She doubled down. Instead of addressing the backlash, she leaned into visibility. Photographed at charity luncheons, stylists buzzing around her, interviews carefully filtered through friendly outlets. The message was clear. She wasn't retreating. She was rewriting. For her, control wasn't about truth. It was about narrative. Behind palace walls and PR filters, advisors whispered of containment, of restructuring optics. But this time, even the most loyal staffers couldn't disguise the fracture. Harry stopped showing up in sync. No joint appearances, no rehearsed smiles. Sources said his silence was strategic. Others said it was survival. It was just a terrible look. She does not look good. It looks like something you would see at a grandma's, like, if she's celebrating her, let's say, 60th wedding anniversary. That's what a grandma would wear. Think when I was 30, if I thought about 50, I thought that is an awful long way away, and I don't really need to think about it. And then I blinked, and I'm 50. That's crazy. And yet Meghan's camp spun the opposite story. Anonymous leaks painting her as misunderstood, misjudged. The oldest play in the celebrity handbook turned victimhood into visibility. For weeks, the tabloids became her mirror, and every reflection looked slightly more curated than the last. Meanwhile, Harry was seen alone. Quiet dinners, unguarded moments, shoulders heavier than before, not angry anymore, just exhausted. Insiders described him as a man realizing that every apology he gives becomes another headline she owns. Then came the whispers of a new project, a rebranding initiative, quietly pitched to studios. It's focus, resilience, motherhood, misunderstood women. And with that, the cycle began again. New sympathy, new spotlight, new silence from Harry. This wasn't recovery, it was repetition by design. Finally, Meghan Markle turns up at Paris Fashion Week, fancying herself to be kind of budget Angelina Jolie.
Wow.
But without the talent or the tits or the teeth. I think she fancies herself to be a bit of a catwalk bottle. More like I aged on the prowl looking for its next. The scandal didn't end.
It simply evolved.
Because in their world, silence isn't surrender, it's staging. And sometimes the quiet after the storm isn't peace. It's the sound of someone planning their next move. Every royal story begins with legacy, but this one refuses to end with it. For Harry, legacy was never about gold or grandeur. It was about the weight of ghosts. His mother's face on every front page, her name whispered in every interview, her tragedy replayed for eternity. Now that same legacy has become the battlefield between grief and spectacle. In quiet moments, Harry still speaks about Diana, not as a symbol, but as a wound. Friends say he describes her not as the people's princess, but as a woman who wanted peace and never found it. And yet, every time Meghan invokes her name, wears her jewelry, or references her struggles, it's as if the wound is ripped open again, televised, #monetized. She's walking around Paris like she's got her arms flowing. She's really feeling her oats. Woman, please go back to California and be with your children and go and find a career other than just being desperate for attention every single day. Observers close to the royal circle say that what began as admiration has turned into imitation. It's not about honoring the past. It's about controlling the narrative of it. And that's what tears Harry apart because the world still sees Diana's son, not the man he's trying to become. Every headline drags him backward. Every scandal reminds him he's still trapped in a story written long before he could edit it. Meanwhile, Meghan seems untouched, still turning her story into statements, still speaking of empowerment while standing in the ruins of another woman's legacy. It's no longer rebellion. It's reinvention on repeat. But every performance leaves another scar. Not on her image, but on the history she keeps borrowing from. And that's the cruel irony of it all. The same legacy that made them famous is now the one that may finish them. Because when you build a brand on borrowed pain, the echo always comes back louder. And this time that echo sounds a lot like Diana. Harry and Meghan will likely have their title stripped. I think they should have their title stripped. What is she doing for the monarchy? She's going to fashion shows with this horrible outfit which looks like a bed sheet. Looks like she's wrapped in toilet paper. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't. But one thing is certain. Nothing around this couple ever happens by chance anymore. For years, the world saw a fairy tale. A prince who escaped the palace and a woman who promised freedom. Now, all that remains is noise. Two people surrounded by flashbulbs, trapped in a story they can't rewrite. Harry looks at the past and sees loss. Meghan looks at the same story and sees opportunity. And between those two visions, love has quietly disappeared. The Diana tunnel moment wasn't just a lapse in judgment. It was the perfect mirror of their reality. Tragedy turned into optics. Grief turned into content. It showed us who they've become. One chasing peace, the other chasing the camera that keeps the chaos alive. And yet, the question still lingers in the silence between them. When everything you touch turns into a headline, how do you tell the truth from the performance? Maybe that's why Harry finally snapped. Because behind every lens, every exclusive, every whisper, he sees the one thing he can't protect anymore. The memory of his mother being used as currency in the empire of publicity. So maybe the world doesn't need another photo, another statement, another apology. Maybe it just needs honesty. Something rarer than fame and far more dangerous to lose. If you want to see how deep this pattern of control and chaos really goes, watch our previous investigation where we dismantle the Prince Harry and Meghan's public fight. You're watching Star Spotlight, where the truth hides between the headlines.